stupid conversations with Calvin Calv.
Those are always the best, aren't they?
Okay. Tonight's conversation is, what if Batman was a Marvel character?
Okay.
I don't know. It's going to be loose. Like, there's going to be some mix of, like, real world kind of mixing and comic book mixing. So it's not going to be an exact perfectly fit. And we're going to kind of take Batman out of, like, if he was written by Marvel, I guess. But still end up being the Batman that we know, if that makes any sense. Anyways, I think the best place to start is, would Gotham even exist? Because DC makes up cities. They tend to represent cities. Like, Gotham is New York, even though it's not.
No, it's actually...
It's what?
It's actually in New Jersey.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Either way, I mean... whereas Marvel just uses the real world locations. We could go by Batman White Knight. And there's been a lot of talk, at least in my local comic book store, that Portland, Maine is now Gotham. Because the author who did
right?
White Knight is from Portland, and he used the landscape of Portland to...
Right, I remember seeing something about that.
Yeah, as kind of a inspiration kind of thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of buildings that are drawn into the background and stuff that are the downtown Portland.
Yeah, but I think if we took Batman, he wouldn't have Gotham, and that just seems weird.
He'd have Chicago.
But people still go to Chicago, so it would just have to be a made-up city. Because they do exist. They're just not in the U.S. Like, they do have Wakanda and, what's the other? Not Madrid. The mutant one. Mandapore?
No.
Mandapore?
Damn it. Too tired for this.
Mandapore? Well, whatever.
No, that's not even remote.
So fake cities, fake countries and stuff exist. Just they don't really tend to have them in the U.S. very much. But I don't know. I say we just go with Gotham. Maybe it's just some random different city in New Jersey. And we go to where would he fit in? And I think a lot of his friends would be very easy to just still have there completely as is. Commissioner Gordon, Alfred, the Batwoman's, his other friends, Robin, would be fine. And I was saying about, I honestly think, as weird as it is, Batman would get less flack for the whole having children as sidekicks. Because with Bucky Barnes being a thing, and the X-Men but the X-Men who constantly send underage characters fighting, champions, or aka Teen Titans, many of which were formerly Avengers before they kind of split off during the Second Civil War and made champions. They are all powered, more or less, and they're older than 13, but I think because there's so many of them in Marvel, Robin would stick out a lot less as weird. I mean, even in the movie Civil War, Tony recruited a 16-year-old Peter Parker to go into a fight. So I think there would be less criticism for the fact that he brings a kid in the Marvel universe. You start to get into then you start to introduce the Marvel characters, and who I think Batman would be really good friends with, I guess. And I think the first one that comes to mind is definitely Daredevil. I think those two would get along really well. For two reasons. They're very similar characters. And Frank Miller wrote both of them. And they both are kind of in the New York-ish, Gotham, whatever, city. So maybe they wouldn't overlap entirely, but I think they'd be close enough to overlap. And this is where I got into it. Bruce Wayne gets along really well with Barry Allen. And you're more than well aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm wrong, but there's not a lot of super rich characters in DC besides like Bruce Wayne and Lex Luthor.
Oliver Queen.
Is he?
Yeah, he's also a billionaire. Nothing's popping into my head.
I don't know. I think there's a lot more opportunity for him to have friends more of his caliber, I guess, who are rich and geniuses, like Tony Stark, Reed Richards, for one. And then
Black
Spider-Man...
Panther.
I think that's a little different because he's not rich personally. He's rich because he rules a country.
But I think they would get along very well, though, because of their... I don't know. They're
probably.
Kinda...
I think he would get along really well with Spider-Man. And I put Bruce Banner down I think they would get along just fine, but I think he would have issues with the Hulk thing. But it would be interesting having Bruce Banner in that universe, because if he goes toe to toe with Superman, he has that. What was the series, the arc or whatever, where he had his backup plans for everybody got like released or whatever?
Tower of Babel.
Yeah,
I think it was.
like there's no way in hell he would not have a plan for the Hulk.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Tony Stark had contingency plans for the Hulk, and Tony Stark isn't paranoid.
I think Batman's plans would be less just a bigger suit of armor. Like that's just Iron Man is like, I need more armor. That's my plan.
I know, but I'm just saying he had a contingency plan specifically for the Hulk, nothing else.
Well, they did. Considering who the Hulk is, that actually makes some sense.
No, I know. I'm just saying Batman would have a contingency plan. Maybe it would be the same exact thing where he brings out this huge mech suit, but he would have other things to deal with.
No, I think in the Ultimates they had an adamantium arrow that that Hawkeye shot at the Hulk, and it made him go to sleep or something. Like it's super powerful.
Mm.
Like obviously, horse tranquilizer is not going to do anything, but it was a tranquilizer. But he'd probably have that. And Batman would be nastier in the Marvel universe than he's in the DC universe.
I think yes or no.
DC doesn't have DC kind of has like super metals, but they don't. They have more super beings. They're more about super beings, and Marvel has a lot. You know, they have adamantium and vibranium, which I guess is just a variation of adamantium or vice versa. Like they have a lot of different metals that do a lot of different things.
Uru.
Yeah.
Well, apparently you're not reading metal. I think it would be different. Marvel seems to do better with street level characters, and I think Batman wouldn't be as I can plan and have a contingency plan for everybody kind of thing, which we were just kind of going on about. But I don't think he would have I don't think he would be that like I can beat everybody because I have a contingency plan. I think he would be a lot better character though. I mean, look at Daredevil. Daredevil's basically a blind Batman who's not as smart or rich.
I would say
when you write it out like that, it is nothing like Batman.
He's like half of the Defenders because he's a rich martial artist who runs around in a suit at night.
Like Iron Fist.
Iron Fist and he's not like Iron Fist though.
No, he's not.
He's more Daredevil. He's Daredevil in personality, but Iron Fist in biography.
Without the chi.
Yeah. Oh, which that's another thing. That
okay.
would be.
I want to go into enemies a bit, unless you had more on random heroes that you think he'd get along well with.
I don't know. Nothing. You popped this on me. So
no, I know. That's kind of the fun of it. Actually, I can jump to this. Do you think he would be in the Avengers? I mean, do you think there's any real difference between the Avengers and the Justice League? And I think the big difference to me, I think the difference between the Justice League and the Avengers, obviously the cast and whatever, but the Avengers have always tied in really, really heavily with S.H.I.E.L.D. Do you think Batman, as we know Batman, would be able to coexist with S.H.I.E.L.D.?
I don't know. Batman created Brother Eye, so in theory, he would just that could have even been where he got some of his training or whatever. It's there's a lot of random stuff in Marvel, so I honestly can't say yes or no because
I think there's characters that he because in my mind he matches up with, like he would be friends with more and closer. Like Barry Allen and him are pretty close, but he's still reserved and he's not going to be outgoing and whatever. Like he's still going to be a pulled back character. But I mean, if he doesn't join the Avengers, I could see someone like him and Tony Stark, or him and Spider-Man, or him and Reed Richards, or some of that, making their own group anyways, or just him being part of the Illuminati or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Obviously, he would easily be able to.
He might work with Black Bolt too. I'm trying to
in the Inhumans.
Yeah, I don't.
No, he's not an Inhuman.
No, I know, but they're not. I don't think they're always. They're not like we're the super like Black Bolt. Obviously, Black Bolt works with other people because he is part of the Illuminati.
Yeah, I know.
And so I think it's one of those things that Batman would probably respect. That they're like, no, we don't want none of this. We're out, and we're gonna go to the moon.
I think there would be days where Black Bolt talks more. Oh, I want to go into the enemies and how they would translate over to being Marvel characters. We both agree, even though he's not legitimately Batman's arch nemesis, Bane is Batman's best villain. He can go toe to toe with him mentally and physically, and he's a good character. And I think Bane would translate over to Marvel just fine. I don't
Agreed.
think anything would change. I've kind of, not that it really ties in, but just the name that DC has. I wrote down here because it's kind of a funny thought. Do you think if Bane existed, or the Bane we know, I guess, teleported to Marvel, do you think he would trade in DC's Venom for Marvel's Venom, the symbiote?
I don't know, because I think the symbiote tries to control. I guess it depends, because I mean, like, there's the newer Rebirth Batman. Bane seems very much trying to not be addicted to Venom, or at least he was during what I read.
Yeah.
Whereas the symbiote might be different. Like, I don't know. It depends. I guess at that point it's a cheesy answer, but it depends on who's writing him. I could see him having a symbiotic relate, like an actual symbiotic relationship with Venom.
You're thinking Spider-Man, where he changes him from being a good guy to being kind of.
No, I know, but he still has an effect.
He does, but you look at Eddie Brock, and he's able to be Eddie Brock without having to be. And I think Bane is fully capable of keeping complete control of Venom in check. And I don't think Venom wants complete control.
I can't even.
Anyways.
That would be disgusting. Holy crap! Bane's intelligence and fighting, mental and physical capabilities combined with the symbiote, like, jeez, that would be nasty.
It would be like Spider-Man when Spider-Man was Venom, except physically a lot stronger.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not. Spider-Man's a lot stronger than people like to think he is. All right, these next three I have, and I want to kind of tie this into another thought I had. But I have three on the list. Joker definitely. Riddler and Two-Face probably. I don't think they would exist. I think they would be dead. Especially Joker. I do want to tie this into the fact that I don't think Batman would have his niche in Marvel. Batman is, I don't kill, I am the darkness, whatever. But he compares to, like, Superman and Wonder Woman, the Green Lantern. Like, yes, they have the Suicide Squad, but those are still villains. They're just villains with a bomb in their head. Whereas Marvel has characters like Punisher, Black Widow, Magneto, that are all considered, some of them are anti-heroes, but are considered, not villains, but considered heroes. And especially like the Punisher, just straight out mows people down. I think these three specifically, but mostly the Joker, because I've seen the Joker go after Batman, not Batman, duh. I've seen the Joker go after Superman before and other heroes and stuff. If the Joker went completely ballistic, the Punisher would just kill him. And that's something that most of the heroes in DC don't do. Especially since Gotham seems like the perfect city that Punisher would set up in and be like, you know what? I'm going to clean house.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're too over the top, that they would draw too much attention from some of Marvel's more violent characters, like Wolverine. He's the best at what he does, at getting rid of the Joker. And I think they're too over the top to exist in Marvel without powers, I guess.
Well, if we're going that way, then if you're allowing the Venom symbiote to attach to Bane, then why wouldn't
we could give Carnage to the Joker?
Yeah, pretty much.
You know what's funny? The difference is Carnage has a power, so he's capable of fending off people. If, like, you could load him full of bullets, and Carnage would be fine. You can't load the Joker by himself full of bullets, and the Joker would be Swiss cheese. So that would be interesting.
That would be nasty.
All of them could be symbiotes. That's going more towards Spider-Man, but that is Marvel. So that would be interesting. The Joker is Carnage. I didn't think of that. And they have characters like it, and that's why I don't think Riddler and Two-Face may tone down a bit, change a little bit. They could exist, but I think the way Joker has always been, he is too over the top to exist by himself.
Yeah, he couldn't be anything less than the crown prince of crime that he is. So I agree with that. I think Riddler, I think the Riddler would be fine. I think he might even have just a different hero. Or he could be, or he might be a hero. Because he is, at that point, I think the problem is, if you think about it, there are not as many DC characters that can go toe-to-toe mentally with Riddler. I mean, he's not the smartest, but he's significantly smarter than a lot of the people. So there are a lot more intelligent villains that he could actually go up against intellectually.
Yeah, I think as a whole,
I think Reed Richards, the Fantastic Four, he could go against. He doesn't have any powers.
Maybe not Tony Stark, but Reed Richards or Spider-Man. And I know there's a host of others that are really strong, really smart. I do think Marvel's characters as a whole tend to be not as a whole, but I think a lot more of them are that genius level. And I actually wrote down what Marvel lacks in raw power, they make up for in PhDs.
Well, technically, so does Batman's villains. A majority of his villains are actually doctors. I think. No, I know. But 80% of Gotham is doctors or something. It's a joke, but it was still funny.
But that's Batman and Batman's villains because they need to counter him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying DC is dumb. I'm just saying I think the intelligence level, the science, the genius level is.
Yeah, it's Marvel's more science. DC is more powers.
And before that, I wrote Mr. Freeze. I don't know that Mr. Freeze would exist. I mean,
he wouldn't be a bad guy.
No. Story-wise, he would exist. He could exist because they have things like, we can't find the cure to Thor's cancer, even though we're Asgardians and we're crazy scientific and magic and stuff. So, for story purposes, he could exist, and I get that. But kind of going into the way that all of these genius level characters exist in Marvel, I don't know that Mr. Freeze would exist because I think somebody would have found a cure for his wife. And without that catalyst, he doesn't really exist.
Well, him as the villain, sure.
Well, yes. I mean,
I could see him
still be there, but
he might even work for S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, he may very well be one of the. Like you said, he may be a hero in Marvel because they helped him cure his wife, and he still has his frozen thing from when he was trying to deal with
his cryogenics.
Yeah, his cryogenics. So he could still exist, and it's not like Iceman isn't a hero. So it's not. Mm-hmm. It's not like using ice is villainous or anything.
Yeah.
So but either way, I think he would change. I mean, he could just exist as is, but I think he would change. I think he would be either a hero or just be Victor Freeze.
Freeze.
He would be Victor Freeze, a doctor, or whatever,
cryogenist or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, he would be a background character.
I like how they've changed him in that, because I think in the comics he's a villain, and
he's an incredibly underutilized character in Batman.
I think it's because it's one of those things where he's only a villain because of circumstance. Like a lot of the other people, they're like, it's kind of circumstance, but they're like, no, this is what I'm gonna do. I like being a villain. He's a villain because he's trying to cure his wife, and he needs to feed his suit to be able to live, and it's a crappy circumstance. Like he's a doctor who's down on his luck. It's really like.
Yeah, I have another character who actually I have similar thoughts on. He's a very underutilized character, is the Penguin. I think because he's a politician, he's a sleazy politician, and I think Marvel does that a little bit more. I think he would be a top tier threat, and I think he'd be better utilized. Even if he didn't stick with politics, if he went into business like a lot of people tend to do, like Kingpin, Hell's Kitchen has this whole underground criminal gangs organization. Oh, yeah. And then there's,
Kingpin would probably not be friends.
No.
Or they would be great friends.
But there's Roxxon, the Hammer Industries, Oscorp. There's a lot of opportunities if he doesn't even just start up his own business or political parties and stuff.
That starts because he's a weapons dealer, an arms dealer.
He would be I think he'd be a much bigger threat to Batman in the Marvel landscape because I think they do better with the street level characters in general. And then I have these three would exist or wouldn't exist depending on where you stand on it because they already kind of exist. Clayface, Catwoman, and Killer Croc as either Sandman, Black Cat, or the Lizard. I mean, they basically exist. Killer Croc's the biggest stretch because he's just a dude who's a lizard. But Black Cat is very much a Catwoman, and Sandman is very much a Clayface. I mean, there's differences. They're not the exact same character, but they're basically the same. Right. I think Scarecrow would be in there, and I think he'd be fine. I think Solomon Grundy would be fine because he's just... It would be interesting. He would be one of the two that I would be the most interested in seeing in Marvel would be Bane and Solomon Grundy, because Solomon Grundy is just such a force of nature. I don't know, he would be cool to see. Not that he's bad in DC. He would just be cool to see in Marvel, because nobody can do shit about him in DC. Ain't nobody doing much about him in Marvel. Pacify him and whatever, but he'll still have his arcs where he goes crazy and can't die and all that crap. And I think Poison Ivy would be fine too. I think she's enough of a character that I think she would be able to find her role there. This is the one, and I think he'd be fine. But Ra's al Ghul, I think he'd be fine. I think he'd find his place. But it's this: do you bring in the League of Assassins, or is he just part of the Hand?
Are we saying we're converting into it, or is it they've always been?
Well, it would be they've always been kind of.
Then he would definitely be. He would be the Hand, or he would be an offshoot of the Hand because maybe he didn't agree with the Hand, and he could still have the League of Assassins, but it's pretty much just the Hand, but with just the middle finger, I guess, just one finger.
I mean,
but no, I think he would be. I think he's too cocky to be part of a team, though. Like, I mean,
I don't know how much you know about the Hand.
I'm basing my entire knowledge on the Marvel TV shows that are on Netflix because I really don't know. Which is
fairly accurate. There's still leadership.
Right, they only come together on occasion.
I think they're more of mercenary assassins, whereas the League of Assassins are a league where they have their own agenda and stuff, where the Hand doesn't. They're whoever wants us to kill somebody, pay us and we'll kill somebody. They're that. And I think when you break it down, they're not that dissimilar role-wise. Like, you have this pool that keeps you young and rejuvenated and immortal versus basically being a zombie ninja. It's just kind of a philosophy difference. And I'm sure there's more than just philosophy differences, but I think that's the biggest hurdle.
I think he would definitely either be a part of the Hand or would have been a part of the Hand, but maybe he didn't agree anymore with their methods and left and to start his own. He could have been one of the original founders even and then went his own separate way or just doesn't associate with them anymore. Maybe he's still technically a member. Like, they have all of their members, the fingers, I guess, and they come together on occasion, but they run their own organizations.
It wouldn't be impossible for them to both exist either. I want to throw that out there. I don't think they would be friendly. They would definitely kill each other a lot, which might add its own whole little side issue there, but I don't know, that kind of goes off a little bit of Batman. But I think Ra's al Ghul would be fine. It's just whether he would be in the League of Assassins or in the Hand. I think that's the only real question.
I think that's a valid question, but like I said, I think it could be either one. I don't think it matters as much either way. It's just slightly different story. It's just one variation because they're similar enough in practice.
So do you think there's any more of his villains that come to mind that you think would be great or just fine or whatever? I mean, there's a couple that I didn't really give a lot of thought, like the Ventriloquist and Calendar Man and stuff. They're
I think his villains are a lot more crazy.
Yeah.
So I think if we're not playing him off of villains that are crazy, then a lot of his villains aren't necessary. So no, I mean,
I think
if I had a list, I could go down the list and be like, yeah, no, or yeah, yes, but I don't have a list or anything. So no one else is. I thought of the Ventriloquist, but I'm like, but no, I'm just gonna go no. There's probably not really anybody else.
The Ventriloquist, not that he's a duplicate. I guess I don't know the Ventriloquist that well, but I think there are characters that he would pair up well with in Marvel, like the Purple Man, and for some reason, Bullseye comes to mind. I mean, Bullseye's insane. I think that's underplayed in the movie. I have the 5-part miniseries that you should read. Bullseye is insane. like almost Joker level insane.
Is that the one where he intentionally imprisons himself?
Gets
Caught on
Yeah.
purpose because he wants to kill somebody in a prison and then pretty much just fucking leaves at the end? Yeah. He killed somebody with his. Did he kill somebody with his, like, one of his fingernails at one point? Or
No.
Oh no, he
No,
spit
it's
his tooth out. He spit his. Yeah, there's one that
No,
essentially
it's
got
a-
himself captured on purpose.
But
to
you know what
go-
I'm saying? I think he would pair up
Yeah.
well with Batman because he's super powered, but he's that level of insane.
Sure.
The Goblin, kind of similar. If you're going for crazy guys, I think him and Spider-Man's villains would cross over a lot.
Yeah. It might be even one of those things where Batman's maybe in charge of the more rich district. You know,
I don't think they pull up
well,
turfs.
no, I know, but like,
I think it's one.
Daredevil is, Hell's Kitchen, and Spider-Man is, Brooklyn or whatever. Like, I think it's
Well,
that's
if you have,
just
if you have a Joker with a Carnage
they
suit,
they
and
exist.
Bane-
They can do anything, but they
and Bane with Venom, I think they would have to fight Spider-Man. And a lot of these would come up. They'd have to fight. They'd be in the Marvel landscape. They would fight everybody. But
Yeah.
I think some of the city ones, like Kingpin, would definitely be a rival of Batman. It would be cool to see the League of Assassins fight Iron Fist. This is the one I was thinking of. You go back and forth on Batman versus Superman, but you want to take a crazy variation of Superman.
Sentry.
Yeah. And it wouldn't even be the Century. It would be the Void. Batman versus the Void.
Batman versus a crazy guy who literally has no weakness. That's
Yeah.
not much of a fight.
I know, but I'm just...
When
Well, it would have to be... It would be
when a guy when he can
stories?
go toe-to-toe with literally a guy that could look at it's called the World Breaker to his pretty much a standstill fight. Like, there's no way. I don't think he would go fight with Sentry.
Probably not. And it would be hard to draw him into a story, Batman into a story with that. It wouldn't be impossible. I think it would be hard. But I think that gets me excited to see Batman versus the Void. I would read that. I'd be like, yes! But is there anything else you want to add? Any DC or Marvel or characters that you want to bring over or whatever?
I could go on about different. There's probably a list of DC characters that would do better in Marvel version.
Well, I mean specifically for Batman. We'll leave other heroes and other heroes rogues galleries, Marvel to DC or DC to Marvel, for other videos.
No, I don't think so. Nothing's really. I don't really know. I'm not super knowledgeable about Batman's rogues gallery. I can pretty much everybody we discussed is pretty much everybody I know, as far as how deep his bench goes. I know it goes a bit deeper, but they're a lot more obscure or one-timey. Like, oh, this guy showed up this one time, and he's technically Batman's villain.
Who was the guy who was in that Bane arc that Batman's kidnapped to help him?
Psycho Pirate?
Yeah, Psycho Pirate.
Oh, Psycho Pirate is... I don't think he was his. He was part of the Crisis on Infinite Earths. Like, he sided with somebody, and he's...
Oh, okay.
I don't think he's a Batman villain.
But
in particular. I could be wrong, though.
He's kind of like the Purple Man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to end it here. If anybody actually watches this, I'd love to have conversations about this more, because this kind of stuff makes me excited, because I'm a nerd. Thoughts on something else? Because I want to try and do this weekly, so thoughts on anything else like this.
Anybody we forgot, or anybody that they think Marvel villains who would be good for Batman, or DC villains that would work well in the Marvel universe.
Hell, anime, I don't care. Whatever. So
not Titans. They would be terrible against the Titans.
What's
an Attack on Titan. I'm sorry. Bring anime characters in the Marvel universe. That's what I thought you were saying. Kind of.
I'd love to see Batman in 3D gear.
Oh.
That's nasty. All right. That's the end. Bye.
All right.